everyone. Welcome to your Pilates Slide class. Pilates Slide classes mix my years of experience teaching group fitness on the megaformer with my Pilates mat training. So it's a mix of mat exercises and some sliding exercises. For equipment today, we're not going to need any additional props except a slider. So I'm going to be using a dish towel because I'm on hardwood floors. If you're on carpet, paper plates work well. An important note, we will be doing some sliding work where we kneel on our gliders. So if you are using something hard like a plastic glider or a paper plate, I would also have a dish towel on hand so you can put it on top and use it for padding. So this is a total body class, but we kind of focus on one muscle group at a time as we flow continuously from start to finish. So muscular endurance is a big challenge in this type of class. That being said, one of your best ways to modify is just to hit pause on the video as needed instead of doing the whole thing continuously. Every class, the routine is different. Today, we're going to start with a warm-up that will take us into some core work. It'll be on the mat, and then we'll do some sliding core work, mixing in some upper body. From there, we'll come to standing. We'll do some sliding leg work, and then we'll bring it down to the mat and continue our leg work, mixing in some oblique work. We'll then repeat that side body work on the other side, and then we will finish up with some prone work laying on our stomach and a quick cool down. I'm not going to give you a preview of the exercises because this is a flow with a ton of little variations, so I'm verbally going to guide you through it. It doesn't really make sense for me to give you a preview of the whole thing. So because this class is a mix of mat work and then standing sliding work, you'll notice I'm going to be rearranging my mat as we go from section to section. Sometimes I'm just going to have to turn it so that it's out of the way. To make your transitions as smooth as possible, if you do have space, I would recommend having your mat down and then just having an area next to it that you can use for sliding so you can easily move between the two. Not the end of the world though if you have to do it like me and just flip your mat a couple times throughout the class. If you enjoy this style of workout, I have a bunch more Pilates Slide classes available on Patreon this month. All the information you need about joining Patreon is at patreon.com/Nicole Pierce. Now we're going to start with a warm-up. You don't need your sliders. We will be on the mat for the first chunk of our workout. I want you to come into a comfortable seated position, so I'm going to sit cross-legged. We're going to start with just a few deep breaths together. So we're sitting upright. You can close your eyes if you'd like to. We're going to take a deep inhale through the nose, and as we do, I want you to think of expanding your rib cage three-dimensionally. We're going to exhale out through the mouth like we're gently blowing out a birthday candle. And as we do, those ribs gently move in and down. There's a widening as we engage through that abdominal wall. Again, inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Two more. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, as you inhale, make sure the breath isn't getting caught in your shoulders. So the shoulders aren't elevating, it's the rib cage, the diaphragm that is expanding. One final exhale. And then opening your eyes, if they were closed, I want you to tent your fingers to either side of you. We're just going to come into a fluid side bend. So start by taking that right arm. You're going to sweep it up and over to the left, and then let's just move up and over to the other side. So it's a slow, fluid movement, just getting everything warmed up here. The class really builds on itself, so we don't spend a ton of time in a specific warm-up. The warm-up will kind of blend into some core activation work, which will prepare us for the next section, and so on. One more time each side. Coming through center, arms reach out to the side, lifted at shoulder height. Inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, I want you to twist over to the right. Bring that left hand to the outside of your right knee, and let's just trace some arm circles with that back right arm. I'm bending my elbows so that I don't hit my couch, but you could do it with a straight arm. So we're staying in this twist. Think of sitting up nice and tall, and just switch direction of those arm circles. Mobilizing through the shoulder joint. One more. Arms reach out, come back through center, inhale, and as you exhale, now we're going to twist over to the left. Right hand to the outside of that left knee, grow tall in the twist, and let's trace arm circles with that back left arm, elbow bent or arm straight, whatever works for you. And just switch direction of those circles. Last time. Arms extend long, come back through center. And now you're going to uncross your feet and bring them in front of you. I'm just going to turn to face the side. But I still want you to try to sit up nice and tall on those sitting bones. If you're tight through the hips and this isn't possible, then feel free to cross your legs again. Arms are going to reach forward. We're going to sweep them up, and then you're going to sweep them back and wide. So don't sweep them too close to the sides of your body or the floor will get into the way. Press back, opening through the chest, and then lift overhead. So we're trying to maintain this upright neutral spine as we do this. So don't lose that connection to your rib cage. We're not flaring open from there. And that might mean that your arms don't come up all the way overhead. Maybe you just lift them to forehead height. Absolutely fine. 2 more. Last time. Bring those arms parallel to the floor, palms face in towards each other. From here, we're going to start to activate through the abdominals just with a little movement of the lower spine. So your lumbar spine is going to start to flex. So it's sort of a scooping action. As you exhale, I want you to roll your hip bones away from your thighs. Stay pretty tall and open through the upper and mid spine though. And then as you inhale, you just roll it back up tall to seated. So a little scoop through the lower spine. Picture your spine's a J shape. And then bring it back up tall to neutral. So this is called pelvic femoral rhythm. It is the movement of that pelvis in relation to your femur bones. Even though I know pelvic femoral rhythm sounds like something you'd find on OnlyFans. It's not. Just a little activation through the lower abdominals. 2 more. Scoop. Back up tall, and then this time we're going to roll ourselves all the way down to the mat. So start with that lumbar spine, and then vertebrae by vertebrae come all the way down to the mat. So from here, just go scoop forward a little bit. I want you to find neutral through the spine, and one at a time you're going to bring your knees up to tabletop. So we still have that natural curve to the low back here. Engage through the abdominals to maintain it. Hands are going to come behind your head, and on an exhale, start to ab curl up, and then lower down. Exhale, up, and down. So just starting with a simple movement, we're going to build onto this. To modify, you can have your feet on the mat instead of at a hover. Now, any strain in the low back as we go through this abdominal series, you can find an imprint position instead of neutral. That would just mean there's an elongation through the low back and you would just press it gently down towards the mat. It's not quite a tuck though because your glutes would not be engaged. As you ab curl up, gaze is at the knees. 4 more. Next time up, you're going to hold that ab curl position. Now from here, I want you to straighten out your right leg. I want you to bring your hands, one to the outside of your left shin, the other to the inside of that left knee. Single leg stretch. On an exhale, you're going to switch. Keep that going. One leg extends out, then the next. We're maintaining this ab curl position. You're not jamming your chin down to your chest though. So picture your upper spine is curving up and over something. What am I doing with my hands? There we go. Now coming up, the legs are going to continue to do this. All we're going to do is bring our hands back behind our head to support the neck. And we're going to add in a twist, bringing it into a bicycle crunch. That's in 4, 3, 2, 1. So you twist opposite shoulder to opposite knee. Legs are doing that same motion. Exhale. Don't worry about how low the legs are. Only as low as you can go, maintaining that neutral spine. So maybe you need to reach them a little higher. Make sure you're giving your neck that support, okay? Because we're going to remove the hands coming up. In 4, you're going to hold. In 3, 2, 1. Knees bend into tabletop, stay curled up. Now from here, I want you to straighten your legs up towards the ceiling. You're going to bring your hands behind that right leg, and I want you to lower the left scissors. 2 pulses. Exhale, switch. Which leg comes in? You pulse, pulse, switch. Now, maybe instead of grabbing your calves, you're grabbing a little lower behind the thighs. Do whatever works for you, okay? I'm tight through my hamstrings, so I don't hold up very high. You might even be able to reach up closer to the ankles, though. pull, pull, as the other leg presses down to the mat. Now, just like we did before, coming up, legs are going to do the same thing, but we'll take out the pulse, and we're just going to add in a twist, hands behind the head. 4 more. 3, 2, 1, hands behind your head, you twist, twist, as legs switch, switch. Don't worry about getting them as low as you just were, okay? Almost there. To modify, bend through the knees, okay? They don't have to be straight. 4, 3, 2, last time. Knees bent, curl up a little higher. We're going to finish with one final hold. Reach the arms forward, straighten those legs. Just hold and breathe. You got it. Maybe the legs drop 1 inch lower. Maybe you curl up a little higher. Hold for 4, 3, 2, hug your knees in towards your chest. Awesome job. Okay, we have a teaser series to finish. So I want your legs long but knees bent, feet on the mat, and they're going to stay on the mat to start. Neutral through the spine. Arms reach up overhead. As you inhale, your arms are going to start to sweep up towards the ceiling. Now, as you exhale, start to nod the chin, and vertebrae by vertebrae, you're going to peel yourself up off the mat to balance just behind your sitting bones. So don't come up all the way. Now, from here, you're going to reach the arms overhead. And as you do, I want you to grow taller through the upper and mid spine while still maintaining that little scoop through the low spine. Lower your arms down, and then I want you to just return to the mat, vertebrae by vertebrae. Twice more like this, keeping your feet on the mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, nod. Roll up to balance. As you inhale, arms up overhead or just to eye level. Open up through the chest. As you exhale, arms lower, round through the spine. Return yourself down to the mat. One more time like this. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, nod the chin. Roll up, balancing just behind those sitting bones. Arms up, grow taller through the upper spine, arms lower, and roll it down. Now you can stay here with the feet on the mat. If you want to ramp it up a notch, one at a time, bring your knees up to tabletop, and then just press the knees out a couple inches away from your hips, okay? Same deal. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, come to balance just behind those sitting bones. Can you reach the arms up, opening up through your upper spine while maintaining that J curve through the lower? Arms lower as you round through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, return yourself down to the mat. Again, inhale, arms up, exhale. Inhale, arms up, grow tall. Exhale, arms lower as you round through the spine, return yourself to the mat. One more time like this. Inhale, arms up, exhale. Grow tall, arms lower, and return to the mat. Now you can stay like this. If you are up for a challenge though, we straighten our legs. You lower them to a hover. Full teaser, let's go. Inhale, arms up, exhale. Roll up, open up through the chest, arms reach up overhead. As you exhale, start to scoop through the lower spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, return yourself to the mat, legs stay put. Again, inhale, exhale, roll up. Maybe you stay with the arms reaching forward. Maybe you lift them as you grow taller through the upper and mid spine. As you exhale, arms reach forward, vertebrae by vertebrae, keep your legs where they are, return to the mat one more time. This time we're going to finish with a hold. So you're open across the collarbones, tall through the mid and upper neck, scoop through the lower spine, just breathe. We're going to cross the legs, come to seated in 4, hold for 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Core is not off the hook yet. We're going to bring in a little upper body with it. I'm going to flip my mat and we're going to use our slider. So I'm going to have my knees on the slider for this. You could do it from your feet if you want to advance it, but let's start with knees down, okay? We're going to find a modified plank position. I'm going to have my hands on the mat. We're going to do a little combo. It's going to be a cobra slide to a marching plank. So I'm going to bring my heels in towards my bum so that I'm off my kneecaps. If it feels better for you to have the feet just slightly over the floor, that is fine. All right, hips are lowered, squeeze through the seat. Now we're going to start to slide back, and as we do, you gradually bend your elbows, sliding all the way down to a kneeling forearm plank. Now we're going to march up to straight arms, and then you're going to walk yourself forward. Again, we cobra slide to the bottom. Now opposite hand leads. March up and walk yourself forward. Keep that going. Now you may be able to slide up as well. My floor, maybe it's dirty, but it does not glide that easily. So I'm just sliding on the way down and then I'm marching up. But if you're able to slide down and back up, go for it. Now we're just going to add on to this. One more time like this. And the next time you're up, we're just going to add in a tricep push-up. So elbows staying in tight to the sides of your body. Bend the elbows, lower down. Press yourself up. Cobra down to the mat. And then march up and walk it forward. Now make sure that butt isn't starting to pike up to the ceiling. One tricep push-up. One cobra. And march. When you do that tricep push-up, I recommend inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the way up. Hands under shoulders, elbows go back, staying in tight, so that we get the back side of the arm. Now this time down, we're going to hold when we get to the forearms. So one tricep push-up, cobra yourself down to the mat, hold. Now you're going to tuck your toes, and you're going to lift your knees up into a full plank. If you need to modify, keep your knees down. Just hold. So reach the heels back with your forearms, really press them into the mat, filling the space between your shoulder blades. We're squeezing the quads, squeezing the glutes. Now from here, you're just going to tap the knees to the floor. Exhale, lift them back up. Keep that going. We're going to do that whole thing from the top. After a quick child's pose, in 4, tap for 3, 2, 1, knees down, press back, quick child's pose. All right, one more time through this, and then we're going to come to some standing work, okay? So knees back on your slider, or if you want to advance it, maybe you do feet on the slider so you're in a full plank. Up to you. We're going to start with just that cobra with the march, no push-up. So start to shift yourself back as you do, bend those elbows. We march up to straight arms. You walk yourself forward so that you have space for the next cobra. Alternate your lead arm. One more like this. And let's add in that tricep push-up. This time we're going to add in 2. So you do 2 tricep push-ups, down and up, down, exhale, up, cobra, slide back, march it to straight arms, walk it forward, 2 tricep push-ups. So go at your own pace. And I know there's a lot to this combo. If you mess something up, don't worry about it. Just pick it up. 2 push-ups. Cobra down. We have 2 more just like that. Last full set here. This time when you come to forearms, we'll hold up in forearms. So 2 tricep push-ups. Cobra down to your forearms, hold. Toes reach the floor, lift your knees up, you're in a forearm plank, just hold. I want your forearms parallel. I don't want you to bring the fists in together, just because this is gonna help you stay really open across your chest. I don't want you to internally rotate from the shoulders. Now we're gonna start those knee taps. Down, exhale, lift. One more plank hold in 4. Tap for 3, 2. Last time, hold. You're here for just 15 seconds, you got it. Here for 4, 3, 2, knees down, press back, quick child's pose. All right, we're gonna come to standing. We have some sliding lunge work. Right leg is going to be our focus to start, so I want your right foot on the floor or the mat, and then your left foot is going to be on the glider, and lift that left heel up so you're pretty light through this back foot. We're going to start with a sliding curtsy lunge. So as you lunge down, this back left leg is going to sweep over to the right, kind of crossing behind your right leg, and then you come up, maintaining that slight sort of scissor cross position. I'm leaning forward with my torso, but I'm not rounding through the shoulders. So my spine is still one long neutral line. I just have my shoulders kind of pitched over this front knee. That's going to help us really get into the posterior side of this right leg. Now, yes, the legs are crossed in this curtsy position, but it's not such a big cross that your hips are opening up, okay? So still think of slightly pulling this back left hip forward a little bit. Now, a couple things you can do if this curtsy position isn't working for you. One, you might be crossing too deep, so just bring it a little closer to a regular back lunge. Second, you might try bending your back knee, and that may help. And then if it's just not working for you, I want you to do a regular sliding back lunge instead, with your hips pointing forward and your feet hips distance apart. Every time you rise up out of this, really think of grounding down through that right foot. So you push the right foot into the mat, and that's what brings you up. No rush in these, does not matter how many reps you get in. So we're going to come into our first round of variations. So next time you come down, I want you to come down only about halfway. Hold. Before you do anything, take your back left hip and pull it forward a little bit more. Hands come in front of you. Now we're going to take this back left leg and we're going to sweep it out to the side, out to the left, kind of like we're coming into a side lunge position. And then I want you to sweep it back across into the curtsy. So you have to stay really light on your left foot as we stabilize through the right leg. Now, as you sweep, I want you to think of pulling your right hip back a little bit. You're going to notice it's very tempting to crunch into your side body, but I want the pelvis to stay as still as possible as you do this. Keep reaching the hips back. Get ready to meet me in that curtsy. So next time that back leg sweeps into the curtsy, hold and give me a little pulse. Sink down an inch and up an inch. Down an inch and up. We're going to go back to our full range lunge, just like we started with. Pulse for 4, take it down. 3, 2, last pulse with control. It's back to full range, up to the top, woo, and slide it all the way down. So in this slide, it's the hips that are moving back, not the knee that is moving forward. So your right knee is going to stay pretty much over that right heel the whole time. So we have those variations one more time at the bottom. We'll sweep the leg. We'll do 2 different pulse variations this time. And then just like that, you're done with your standing sliding work, but we're going to continue working on this right leg down on the mat. We'll come into a side lying series. Okay, variations on deck. Next time you come down, but just halfway, okay? Don't get too low. First step, take your back left hip and you're gonna need to pull it forward a little bit. Then from there, we sweep that back left leg. Sweep it out to the left so you're kind of in a side lunge position, and then sweep it back and across into your curtsy. Woo! Stabilizing through that right side. Keep pulling your right hip back. Now, no, I don't want you in your lowest possible lunge because it's going to make this movement really almost impossible. But be honest with yourself. Is your right leg almost straight? If it is, maybe you sink 1 inch lower. Ooh. All right, we have those pulses coming up. Next time you sweep your leg into a curtsy, hold it in the curtsy, back leg is still straight, pulse down an inch and up. Ooh. Okay, now 1 more pulse variation. Coming up in 15 seconds, you're just gonna bend your back knee in. So we're still in a curtsy, knees will be bent though, and we'll pulse, but the glider will not move. Hold it low in 4, 3, hold low on that right side. Now take your back left knee, bend it in. You're still in a curtsy position. Take your left hip, pull it forward a little bit. Slide your hips back, sit a little lower. Now without moving the glider, pulse down and up to finish. You got it. We're going to be in a side lying position. You're going to mirror me. I'm going to flip my mat long ways. We'll lay down on the left side of our body. Pulse for 4. You got it. 3, 2, and 1. Woo, ditch the glider. You don't need it. I'm going to move my mat quick transition, or as quick as you can. We're gonna lay down on the left side of our body in one long line, and I want your left arm long, okay? Rest your head on it. So your body is pretty much parallel to the front or back edge of your mat. Now to start, you're gonna press your bottom leg down in towards the floor to stabilize. We're just gonna move this top leg. So your right leg is going to lift and lower. Now I'm gonna point as I lift and flex the foot as I lower. You can try adding that in, but if adding the point and the flex is confusing, don't even worry about it, okay? Just hold your foot in either a pointed or a flex position, whatever works for you. Now this side leg work, yes, it's for the right leg, also for our obliques though, okay? So instead of letting that left side body just sink down into the mat, I want you to think of almost lifting the side body by your waist away from the mat. Now, is it still going to be touching the mat? It very well might be, and that is absolutely fine. That's not the point. I'm talking about the muscles. The muscles are thinking of drawing in so that they stay engaged. That's also going to help us keep our pelvis neutral. So as the leg lifts up, I don't want you to rock that top hip towards you. I want you to keep it stacked. Now we have a change coming up. Both legs will lift and lower together. Obliques are going to have to work a little harder. You have the top hand lightly on the mat for support. One more time. Now lower the bottom leg, point both feet. Both legs on an exhale, lift together and lower together. Now it doesn't have to be very high because again, I don't want your pelvis rocking. So it's just as high as you can lift them while stabilizing. Exhale. Now our obliques are working here. And you're really going to feel that in our next variation. We're going to add in a lift of the upper body, kind of pressing this bottom hand into the mat and lifting our shoulders up. 4 more like this. Last time. And lower. Okay, now I want you to take your top hand and rest it on your hips. This is going to be hard. Inhale to prepare. As you exhale, legs lift up and upper body lifts up. So you're coming into this long, low hover, using your bottom arm for support. Inhale, lower back down. Exhale, lift that bottom armpit off the mat. This is tough. Big stability challenge and lower. Exhale. Legs lift, upper body lifts, lower. Keep this going. Now stay long through your neck. So don't just bring that top ear towards your shoulder, okay? Still reach the top of the head towards the wall. 3 more. So hopefully now you really feel the top side obliques working. This next time up, I want you to hold. Reach long, you got it, breathe. We're gonna bend that bottom knee. We're gonna prop ourselves up on this bottom forearm in 3. A little higher, 2, and 1. So I'm gonna take that bottom left knee, bend it and draw it forward. Prop yourself up on that bottom left forearm, staying really active through the lats so you're drawing it away from the floor. Right hip stacked directly over the left, so you might need to draw it forward. And then I want you to reach that right leg so long that it lifts up to a hover. Now from here, we're gonna find internal rotation on this leg. So without moving your hip bone, I want you to spiral the thigh slightly down to the floor. So toes dial slightly down. And from here, it's just a little pulse. Straight leg, lift, lift. So by finding that internal rotation, sometimes it can be a little easier to get into the side of the glutes, into that outer hip. If the internal rotation is not working for you, I'm fine with you coming parallel though. Little pulse, little pulse. So we're not sinking into that bottom shoulder. So obliques are working hard here. So we're going to come into a swing of this top leg up next, and when we do, it will be parallel. So if you're staying internally rotated for these pulses, we will release that coming up. You pulse for 4, 3, 2, hold. Now bring that thigh bone back to parallel. We're going to sweep it forward for 2, flex the foot, sweep it back. Point forward for 2, sweep it back. Now, if the pointing and flexing of the foot is overcomplicating it, take it out. Hold pointed or hold flexed, absolutely fine. Now, when you sweep forward, you're not tucking your tailbone under, okay? So if you have tight hamstrings, that might mean you don't swing it forward very far. That's the case for me. I'm very tight to the backs of my legs. Stay long through the sides of your body. Now all we're going to do is we're going to take out the pulse when we sweep it forward. So we'll just sweep it forward for one, back for one, and we will add in some rotation through the spine. So one more like this, forward for two, sweep it back, hold. Take your top right arm and reach it overhead. As your leg sweeps forward, I want you to rotate open through the chest slightly up to the ceiling. And then as your leg sweeps back, chest rotates slightly towards the floor without collapsing into that bottom shoulder. So keep this going. And as you do, you're fighting to keep that top leg lifted. So we're working into the outer hip area. Shoulder stability, rotation of the spine, and that outer hip. So to finish up this side series, we're going to come into a modified plank. So we're going to lift our hips off the mat. We will keep that bottom left knee down though. Give me one more sweep forward. Sweep it open, come through center, drop that right foot down for a second, take your left knee, hop it back a little bit, lift your hips up into your side plank, and then reach that top right leg so long that there's no choice but to lift up. Now one final time, we're going to try to find that internal rotation. Don't move the hip bone, move the thigh within the hip joint, a little pulse up. I'm going to flex my foot this time, just so that I don't cramp. Little lift, little lift. Pull that top right hip forward slightly so it stays stacked over the left. Yes, it's that top right leg working, but so are your bottom side glutes, okay? Stay open across your chest. You got it. 15 seconds here. Moving into the left leg next. 4. Hold in 3. In 2, hold. Reach the arm up to the ceiling. Lift that top leg 1 inch higher. 3, 2, 1. Hips come down. Find a quick counter stretch. Whew. Okay, so we're going to start that leg work from the top with our sliding series. So I'm just going to take my mat and I'm going to flip it around. All right, you know what to expect. Doing that same sequence on the left leg, we'll start with our curtsy lunge. So left foot is on the floor, right foot is on your glider. Lift that back right heel up. We're going to go into our sliding curtsy lunge. So that right leg is going to stay straight. It sweeps back and over to the left. And then you press through that left foot to come to the top. So remember your variations. If having the legs in this sort of scissor cross position is not working for you, you might just need to make it less exaggerated. So bring it a little close, that back leg a little closer to midline, or you can opt to just do a regular back lunge instead, or try bending your back knee. Do what works best for your body. So we're long through the spine, hinging forward, shoulders over that front knee throughout the movement. Focuses the back side of that left leg and also that outer left hip by coming into this sort of cross leg position. Take a peek down at that left knee. Make sure that it is pointing in the same direction as your middle toes. And let's make sure that those toes are working for us, okay? Sometimes in lunges, we have a tendency to lift our toes off the mat. And yes, I do want the majority of your weight in your heel, but you gotta keep those toes down, especially that big toe. There is a big connection between grounding down through the big toe and more effectively getting your glutes to activate. All right, we have our first hold coming up. Next time you come down, lower just about halfway. First step, take your back right hip and you need to slide it forward a little bit. Big lean forward with your torso and we start those leg sweeps. Woo! First one a little wobbly. So that back right leg sweeps out to the right like a side lunge and then sweeps back to your curtsy. So it sweeps from right to left. Now as you do this, you're trying to stabilize through your pelvis and you're trying not to crunch into your side body. So keep reaching that left hip back. And notice, is your left knee wanting to wobble around as you do this sweep? Try not to let it. So again, those toes play a big role. I'm fidgeting so much with my hands, I gotta hold them still. One more and then we'll come into those pulses. So you sweep that leg out to the side. Sweep your right leg back into your curtsy and then holding the curtsy, let's pulse down as low as you can go, up just a couple inches. We'll start from the top with that full range lunge. Full range lunge. Say that 5 times fast. 4 more pulses. 3 more. Stay low. 2 more. Last pulse, and then with control, full range of motion. Up to the top, whoo, and back to the bottom. How is the lunge being initiated? Remember, it's your hips sliding back, not the knee going forward. So these Pilates slide classes, even though we're not moving really fast when we're in the exercise, and we're certainly not jumping around, because it is continuous movement and the transitions are pretty quick, it's one thing into the next thing into the next, your heart rate really does get up doing these. And speaking of those quick transitions, if this is your first time doing a class like this, I don't want you to be frustrated. If at times you feel a little lost, you will get the hang of it as you do more and more. So we have to do those variations holding the low lunge one more time, and we will add on that second pulse variation. And then you are done with your standing lunge work for the day. All right, next time you go down, but just about halfway to start. Take your back right hip and draw it forward a little bit so that you're able to do this sweeping motion. Really light through your back right foot as you sweep it out to the right, and then sweep it over to the left. So kind of sweeping from a curtsy to a side lunge. Keep reaching that left hip back. It's going to want to creep forward. Don't let your hips open up as you sweep, okay? We really want to draw them forward. Well, I shouldn't say draw them forward, but we want to take this right hip and draw it forward, take the left hip and draw it back. Have I confused you yet? We have those pulses coming up. We'll start with our straight leg pulses, and then we'll go into our bent leg pulses. On the straight leg pulses, your slider moves. Okay, next time you sweep that right leg back, hold the curtsy lunge position. Shift your hips back. Let's pulse. Slide down to your lowest curtsy. Up an inch or two. You got it. Down to the lowest point. Up just a little bit. One final variation to go. We will not move the slider. It'll be a stationary pulse. That back knee will bend in. We'll stay in the curtsy though. 4 more pulses here. Last time. Hold at the bottom. Take your back right knee, bend it in. Now slide your hips back. And from this low curtsy position, stay still. Pulse down and up. Don't let the slider glide around. You got it. We're going to come into that side lying work up next. I'm going to rearrange my mat. You don't necessarily have to. We'll just come to lay down on the right side of our body. In 4, a little deeper. 3, 2, last time. Okay, mat goes long. You're going to mirror me. You're going to lay on the right side of your body. You do not need your glider. We're going to start in one long line. And your arm is long with your head rested on it. So use the front of your mat as a guide to make sure your body is in that straight line. Top left fingertips can come down on the mat for support. You are active through the obliques, so the hips stay stacked. Now ground down through your bottom leg and then reach that top left leg so long that it comes up and then lowers down. Point to lift, flex to lower. So starting with just that simple lift and lower, thighs parallel to the floor. And if the pointing and flexing is overcomplicating it, just pick one and lift and lower. Again, you're thinking long, not high. When you try to kick this leg up as high as it can go, what's going to happen is your pelvis is going to roll forward towards you, this top hip, and then we collapse into the side body. I don't want that. So you're only lifting as high as you can, maintaining stacked hips. So it can even be helpful to take that top hand and kind of push it gently on your hip to really feel that. Our next change coming up is just going to be both legs together, lifting and lowering. Last 2, last time, lower. Point both feet. On an exhale, both legs lift, inhale to lower. So we're getting outer hip on the top leg, we're getting inner thigh on the bottom leg here. And I want you to notice, how much are you relying on this top left hand? Get really light through the fingers. If you want a big challenge, you can even try taking the hand away for a rep, just to notice and really see how much you're relying on it. So the third and final piece of this straight leg series is going to be to add in the upper body lift. And when we do that, we will take our top hand off the mat, really challenging the obliques. 2 more. Last time, lower the legs. Take your top left arm, rest it on your top thigh. Make sure your hips are stacked, so mine were rolling open. So pull that top left hip forward a little bit, ground down through your bottom hand. We're gonna be really active through the lats on an exhale. Legs and upper body come to a long hover. Inhale to lower down. Keep that going. So it is very hard. We're balancing on the side of our hip. So if things feel a little wobbly, then you're probably doing it right. Exhale. Again, it's long, it's not high. So don't crunch your ear to your shoulder. Woo, reach the head long. Keep drawing that top left hip forward ever so slightly. We're on the side of our hip, not rolling back to the side of our butt cheek. 3 more. So that armpit comes off the mat. This next time up we hold. Keep reaching it long. We're going to bend that bottom knee. We're going to prop ourselves up on this bottom right forearm in 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. So bend your bottom right knee, hop it forward, prop yourself up on that right forearm as well. We're going to keep the hips down to start. Hips are stacked. Now I want you to reach this top left leg so long that it comes up to hip height. We're going to find that internal rotation. So without moving the hip bone, spiral the thigh down towards the floor ever so slightly. And it's a little pulse. Up, up. It does not have to be very big, especially because our torso is at this angle. You might find that your range of motion through the leg is tiny. It might be literally half an inch. That is okay. Maybe the foot barely comes off the floor. Absolutely fine. Just make sure you're not rocking your hip bone in towards your ribs. So it stays long through the waist as possible. The leg is going to come out of this internal rotation up next. So it'll just be parallel with the floor. And we'll start with that sweep. 2 counts forward, 1 back. In 8, 7, 6, 5, pulse for 4, 3, 2, hold, thigh is parallel. We're going to kick it forward for 2, sweep it back. Keep that going. So I'm pointing forward, I'm flexing back. If that's overcomplicating it, don't worry about the point and flex. So we're finding hip flexion, hip extension. And by keeping the leg hovering though, it's not just a flexion extension exercise, it's for that outer hip, those abductors. Now we're trying to maintain neutral through the rest of the body as the legs sweep. So core control here. Now we will invite a little rotation into the core coming up. 2 more like this. Kick it back. Last time. Come through center. Now take your top left arm and reach it overhead. As the leg kicks back, your torso spirals down towards the floor. And then as the leg sweeps forward, open up. Your challenge as you do this is to not sink into that bottom right shoulder. There's no more pulse in the sweep, okay? So it's just leg forward, leg back. We're rotating within the spine, but I don't want you to sink into the low back, all right? So notice when your leg sweeps back, are you puffing out through the chest? Try not to, okay? So it might mean you need to make the range of motion just a smidge smaller. So we have a little finisher in the side series. We're gonna lift the hips up. We'll keep that bottom right knee down though. Last 2, swing it open. Woo, outer hip talking to me. Last time, sweep it open. Come through center. You can plant that left foot down on the mat for a second. Hop that right knee back just an inch or two. Lift yourself up into that modified plank position. Take your top left hip, drop forward so that you're stacked open across the chest. Reach that top left leg so long that it comes to a hover. One last time. Can you find internal rotation? It's very slight. Little pulses to finish. Up an inch. Up an inch. You got it. We're active through this whole side body area. Think of drawing the forearm into your knee. You got it. Little lift, little lift. If holding the internal rotation is too much, just do parallel. You got it. We'll finish with that hold coming up in 8, 7. Pulse for 6, 5. You got it. 4, 3, 2. Hold. Hips up smidge higher. You got it. You're done with your side body work in 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower those hips. Quick counter stretch. Right arm can sweep up and over. All right, we have one section left to go in this workout. It is going to be prone, and we're going to mix in a little bit of sliding work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shift my mat back. So I have about a foot of sliding space at the front of my mat. I'm going to have both hands on the towel. So I'm just going to make mine long like that so that I can fit both hands. So just have that towel a little in front of your mat. Ditch it for now, and I want you to come to lay down on your stomach. Engage through the abdominal wall so that we maintain neutral through that low spine. Take your legs about as wide as the mat, so a little wider than hips distance, and then I want you to externally rotate them. Forearms are down on the mat on the outer edges, elbows bent. We're going to start real simple here with a little extension. As you inhale, you're going to reach the top of your head so long that it lifts up into your extension gaze at the front edge of your mat, and then exhale, lower down, nose taps the mat. So we're starting supported like this with the forearms down because I first want us to establish this connection to our mid-back before we add in the glider. When we add in the glider, this movement is going to become a lot bigger, and we're going to really have to recruit our core muscles to prevent us from just totally sinking into the low back. So this lift right here, it's coming from the mid-back, that area like right at the base of your shoulder blades, not the low spine. Just 3 more here. Lift, lower last time, and lower. Okay, press your feet down into the mat, stretch your arms forward, hands come to the glider. You might need to shimmy forward a little bit. So before you do anything, really push your hands down into the floor and think about putting a little extra weight into the pinky side of your hands so we really turn on that area under our armpits, our lats. So now as we come up into our extension, you're going to push down, you're going to pull the glider towards you, sliding up, and then exhale, lower down. So I'm coming up a lot higher, but I am recruiting my abdominal wall so that I'm not just sinking into my low back. So if you look at the screen for a second, notice I'm here, I'm not here. So you really need to draw in. It's that bracing sensation through the core. So it might be helpful to exhale as you lift up and inhale as you lower if you do notice yourself sinking into that low back. So your hip bones might come off of the mat, but make sure your pubic bone is not. So you should feel the backs of your arms working here. Stay energized through the legs. So this is a glutes exercise as well. Push your feet into the mat. Now, next time you come up, you're going to hold up. From here, it's a little tricep dip. So I want you to just bend the elbows. They tap the mat, press and lift. So maintain length through the back of your neck, okay? So yes, your gaze is forward, but it's not up. Don't crane the neck. Don't lose connection to your core. If you are just feeling this in your low back, I want you to come to a tabletop position and do tricep dips in a tabletop instead of this prone position, okay? 4 more. So we worked the triceps in that initial core section of class, and now we're coming back to them here. Last time, lift those elbows, go back to your slide, lowering down, nose taps the mat. Press the pinky side into the floor as you come up. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling the backs of my arms and my glutes after all that leg work. This is where you finish up class, okay? Almost there. A little bit of prone work. You have 3 more. Stay broad across those collarbones. This time you come up, hold. We're gonna go into those tricep dips again. Bend the elbows and lift. The glider doesn't move. Keep bracing through the abdominal wall. We are done with our slider after this, but we have just a little bit to go in this prone series, okay? We're so close, stay with me. Maintain that length through the back of your neck, you got this. Here for 8, 7, 6, and 5. Dip for 4, you got it. 3, 2, last time, lift those elbows, slide yourself down, nose hovering over the mat, and now I want you to lift your arms off the glider to a hover. I want you to sweep the arms back behind you, and as you do, come up into an extension, just body weight. Legs stay down to start. Make fists with your hands, and it's a little bend stretch. Bend stretch. Still working those triceps. You got it. We'll just ramp this up one final notch to finish. We'll bring those legs to a hover. In 4, in 3, bend stretch for 2. Hold those arms long. Now reach the legs so long that they come up to a hover. Squeeze the heels in towards each other a little bit. Back to the bend stretch to finish. You got it. You can do it 20 seconds. Stay open across the chest. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, child's pose in 2 and 1. Lower it down, hands under your shoulders. Press yourself back into an active child's pose or a shell stretch. So we're rounding the spine up to the ceiling just to counter all of that extension we did with a little flexion. And then when you're ready, I want you to come into a more passive child's pose so knees can come wide and just melt your chest down. A few breaths here. Now, staying in this child's pose for a little bit of a variation to stretch out the backs of the arms, I want you to lift your butt up to the ceiling and slide your upper body forward a little bit. And then with the forehead on the mat, you're going to bend the elbows, hands kind of come to prayer, and then you bend them and bring the hands towards your upper back for a nice opening through the triceps here. And if this is uncomfortable, you can always do a seated tricep stretch where you bring one hand behind your back, kind of like you're patting yourself on the back. So I'm just going to bring you through a quick cool down. And again, if you like this style of class, I have a few more Pilates Slide classes available on Patreon. 2 that are similar to this where you don't need any props other than a slider, and then 1 that incorporates light hand weights. All right, stretching those arms forward, let's press ourselves up into a tabletop position. I want you to take your right elbow up to the ceiling for an open twist. And then we're going to thread the needle. So right arm under left. Bring that right cheek to the mat, and then take your left arm and walk it forward. A few breaths here. When you're ready, walk that left hand in. Come through center, and let's just do the other side. So now your left elbow lifts up towards the ceiling, open twist. And then thread the needle. Take your right arm and walk it forward. Feel that opening across your back. Walking your right hand in. Let's come back through tabletop. Tuck your toes under and lift your hips up into a downward facing dog. You can pedal out the heels a little bit. We're going to come into a half pigeon. If you would rather do a figure 4 stretch seated or laying on your back, feel free. Otherwise, let's take our left leg, lift it up to the ceiling, and then I want you to open up through the hip, bending the knee, heel in towards your bum. Now as you start to shift your weight forward, that left knee comes in behind the left wrist, kick the heel behind your right wrist, and come into your half pigeon. Scooting the back leg back, and then you can bring your forehead to rest on your forearms, and just settle into the shape, directing your breath into that outer hip area. Stay here as long as you would like. If you're ready to switch to the other side, let's press up back through that downward facing dog. This time your right leg is going to lift up, roll open through the hip, bend the knee, heel in towards the seat. And then we're just going to shift forward. Right knee behind right wrist, kick the heel behind your left wrist. Slide yourself back and lower into your half pigeon. We're going to finish class in a seated position. You can transition back through down dog if you'd like, or I'm just going to roll to the outer edge of my right hip and come up to seated through there. I'm going to find a cross-legged position. Let's just finish with 2 deep breaths together. So I'm going to inhale and sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, release. One more time, inhale up overhead. And this time, exhale, release. Bring your hands to your knees, and with your eyes closed, let's just finish with a couple seconds of silence here. Take one more breath in. Exhale it out. And that is your class. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new workouts here every Monday, sometimes more often. And then if you want access to additional workout classes, you can become a Patreon member. All the information you need for that is at patreon.com/Nicole Pierce. I appreciate your support so much, and I'll see you guys here next week.